A fire broke out at home. Ignoring the crowd, the girl and her mother rushed in to save her brother. The next second, the brother's voice suddenly rang out, confirming he was safe. The mother and daughter excitedly ran to him beyond. Ae-yeon, her mother and brother lived in a rented apartment to earn money for the family and send her brother to university. Byeon May worked tirelessly, sleeping only 3 to 4 hours a day. One morning, she woke up to find she was nearly late for work. She rushed out and barely made it to the company on time. Just after a chaotic morning, the company president suddenly inspected the store and called for an emergency assembly. Byeon stood in line with everyone as the president inspected the supermarket's food. At the seafood section, staff shook a dead crab vigorously to fake it being alive. But the president exposed their trick and questioned if customers were also deceived this way. Moving to the fruit section, he immediately spotted rotten produce, vegetables, and meats were not exempt. Any issues found led to the immediate dismissal of responsible staff. Beyond Mia, I silently prayed her section wouldn't be inspected next. The president precisely walked to the rice cake section, where Byeon's mother was offering samples to children. He accused Byeon of running a charity kitchen, not a store. Mi-rae explained that offering samples was a marketing strategy. Just then, the children she had given samples to brought their mothers to buy rice cakes. A mother asked why the rice cakes made with leftover sauce at home didn't taste the same as those in the store. Byeon's mother quickly introduced a special vegetarian rice that paired well with the rice cakes. Seeing the sales of both rice cakes and rice rise, Mi-rae seized the moment to tell the president about her plan to bundle rice cakes and rice for sales. Next quarter, the president was pleased with her strategy and remembered her name. After he left, everyone breathed a sigh of relief just then, due to lack of sleep and overwork. Mi-rae suddenly fainted in a blur. She felt someone carrying her. His sturdy body and broad shoulders made her feel safe. When Mi-rae woke up, a man was standing by her hospital bed. She tried to thank him but was gently pushed back down. He introduced himself as the store's security staff and mentioned that the doctor had instructed her to rest. Mi-rae thanked him for bringing her to the hospital and asked him to leave just as he left. She received a call from her mother about the fire, despite feeling unwell. Mi-rae hurried home. The mother and daughter confirmed that her brother and the dog were safe, relieving their worries. Neighbors watched the building nervously oddly. Only the landlord's room was on fire. Other rooms were unaffected. Soon the landlord's body was carried out that morning. Mi-rae had seen the landlord at the window. Just a few hours later, they were worlds apart, leaving her deeply saddened. No one knew that a man in black knocked on the landlord's door in the morning. The landlord complained about his return and tried to close the door, but the man blocked it and forcefully entered the room. Some neighbors found this fire suspicious. It occurred during the day when most tenants were at work, and the fire did not spread to adjacent rooms, suggesting it was arson. Despite skepticism about this speculation, the tenants were shocked when the agent informed them that the landlord's daughter had sold the apartment cheaply. The new landlord wanted to meet 3 tenants, including Byeon's family, the next day. Byeon's mother and 2 other tenants met the new landlord. A man appeared and got straight to the point. He wanted to move in, but the burnt room was uninhabitable. Their leases were expiring soon, and he hoped one of them would move out to make room for him. Byeon's mother, a single parent, was worried, as she had finally settled down with her 2 children and did not want to search for another house. She instructed her son not to tell Mi-rae about this, as she was already working hard to support the family. Byeon's mother tried to renew the lease with the old landlord's daughter, but it was futile as the property had been transferred. The old landlord's daughter needed to sell the house due to financial difficulties, faced with no other options. Byeon's mother shared the news with a female neighbor who was also facing eviction. This neighbor seemed relaxed, having already sent a flattering message with a selfie to the landlord to plead her case, which apparently worked after meeting another neighbor who was trying to win over the new landlord with gifts and her child's drawings. Byeon's mother felt desperate the other 2 had special tactics, and it seemed they would be the only ones forced to move to change her fate. She messaged the new landlord describing her struggles as a single mother, and hinting they might end up in dire straits if evicted. The new landlord did not respond, unknown to her. The man they had met was not the landlord, but his assistant. Meanwhile, Mi-rae, unaware of the family situation, managed to dine out with friends. They asked if her ex-boyfriend was still bothering her. She recalled her ex, a mama's boy, who once snagged his long nails on her clothes and whom she had asked to cut his nails. Despite her declaring her intention to remain unmarried, he had created a scene demanding marriage after 100 days of dating, pressured by his father's wish for him to marry before retiring. Beyond Mi-rae decisively chose to break up, always lamenting her poor choice in men, despite her proven work abilities. Upon returning home, she found the table filled with offerings for her father's upcoming death anniversary. Beyond Mi-rae had previously declared to her brother that she would never hold a memorial service for their father. Years ago, her father had visited her once, but harboring resentment, she refused to speak to him. 10 years later, the family saw news of their father's fatal car accident on TV, stirring mixed feelings, knowing Beyond Mi-rae held a grudge. Her mother explained that holding the memorial was meant to let Mi-rae and her brother properly say goodbye to their father, seeing her mother's increasingly aged face. Byeon Mi-rae recalled every stage of her upbringing, with her mother always by her side, appearing like a superhero. Whenever she called, this compelled her not to refuse her mother's request. The family of 3 held the memorial service. Byeon Mi-rae and her brother bowed to their father, as their mother, following tradition, cried loudly and urged them to do the same to appease the spirit. Her brother then thought he saw their father at the door and shouted about a ghostly appearance. However, when Byeon Mi-rae and her mother looked, they were stunned. The man at the door was not a spirit but very much alive. Beyond M's mother was so startled she nearly fainted. Beyond Moo-jin, their father, dashed forward in a heroic attempt to help. None of them expected the supposedly deceased father to be alive, much less to find out he was the new landlord of the apartment. The once poor husband had not only become a billionaire, but also the landlord of the entire building, now holding power over their lives. Byeon Moo-jin had miraculously returned, revealing the reasons behind the couple's divorce. He was an unsettled man, focused on starting businesses, but failed repeatedly. His last venture was a snack bar, which his wife supported by investing their savings and taking out loans. The snack bar did well, providing hope for a stable life. But Byeon Moo-jin's previous debts came calling, and creditors destroyed the snack bar. Shattering their hopes, disappointed in her father, Byeon M angrily expelled him from their home, leading to the divorce between her mother, Ae-yeon, and Byeon Moo-jin. Acknowledging his faults, Byeon Moo-in left the children's custody to Geum Ae-yeon at their separation. Geum Ae-yeon sternly told him that her greatest fortune was her children and hoped Byeon Moo-jin would not disturb their lives. 10 years later, they saw a news report of a car accident involving Byeon Moo-jin's vehicle and thought he had died, only to discover not only was he alive, but had also become their wealthy landlord. Seeing their father wealthy, the son eagerly approached him. Byeon Mi-rae and her mother were cold and distant, determined to distance themselves from the man. They decided to immediately find a new place to move out. Byeon Moo-jin did not explain much, but wanting to be neighbors with his family, began renovating a fire-damaged room using his financial power. The room was quickly transformed. Byeon Moo-jin also splurged in shopping malls, purchasing anything he liked, regardless of the price, his son, attracted by his father's financial capabilities. Not only helped with the move, but also boasted about having a wealthy father on social media. In contrast, Byeon Mi-rae and her mother were not optimistic. They promised in front of their father to move out by the weekend, but after several days of searching, they couldn't find a suitable place they could afford. The curious neighbors got involved discussing Byeon Moo-jin, who was once poor, but now a billionaire. They speculated on how he became rich, suggesting stocks or Bitcoin. One neighbor who had always suspected the previous landlord died in an arson, believed Byeon Moo-in could be the suspect. An old man also felt Byeon Moo-in looked familiar, but couldn't recall where he had seen him. The neighbors, having lived in the nearby community, thought it normal to recognize each other. But the old man felt something was off. The chubby neighbor gossiped about Geum, Ae-yeon becoming the apartment's lady, and she, amused, said she would move out soon. The neighbor advised her to demand a considerable amount of child support, given the man's wealth. Geum Ae-yeon didn't care about the money, she just wanted their life to remain undisturbed as she was leaving. Byeon Moo-in suddenly appeared behind her and asked why she hadn't inquired about his past. 10 years? Ae-yeon said she didn't care, as it was irrelevant to her. However, Byeon Moo-in persisted, asking if she had missed him looking at him. Ae-yeon's expression was a mix of love and hate. Byeon Moo-jin urged them to stay, offering them rent-free living. Ae-yeon worried about her limited bank savings. New moving again would drain her finances and increase her daughter's burdens. Indeed, Byeon Mi-rae was stressed, busy with work and unsettled housing, causing her daily anxiety. She didn't notice the man sharing the elevator who had taken her to the hospital. Previously, he saw she was preoccupied and pressed the elevator button for her without initiating conversation, while some secretly helped others. openly caused trouble. One day, her ex-boyfriend suddenly appeared at her office. Beyond M was annoyed and tried to dismiss him, but he suddenly shouted, drawing everyone's attention. As the crowd gathered, he approached Beyond Mi-rae and told her he wanted to break up, thinking it was logical to progress from dating to marriage. Beyond Mi-rae was only interested in dating, not marriage causing him pain. She had clearly stated she wouldn't marry. Before their relationship was official, surrounded by colleagues, Beyond Mi-rae felt extremely embarrassed to get rid of the scum. She yelled out that she was willing to be considered the one dumped just to stop her ex from bothering her. After her ex left, Beyond Mi-rae stormed off but fell due to her haste as she was getting up to hail a taxi. Tae-pyeong, who had witnessed the scene, appeared on his bicycle and offered her a ride. He had also taken her to the hospital previously and had paid for her medical expenses. Beyond Mi-rae, recognizing him, wanted to repay him, but found her wallet empty and promised to transfer the money. Soon Tae-pyeong handed her a bandage for her leg wound. She politely thanked him without questioning why he cared back home, unaware of her mother's wavering feelings. Beyond Mi-rae and her mother went to view a house. Beyond Mi-rae liked it. But her mother complained about high maintenance and electricity costs, frustrated. Beyond Mi-rae suspected her mother was attracted to her father's wealth like her brother and didn't want to move. They argued and parted unhappily to vent Geum. Ae-yeon went to play baseball, constantly recalling the scene of her husband reappearing. Determined not to let this man affect her life anymore, she arranged a meeting with him. It was late, her mother hadn't returned, and no one answered the phone. Beyond Mi-rae went out to find her. Meanwhile, her parents were drinking at a restaurant. Ae-yeon confronted Byeon Moo-jin, suspecting he knew they lived in the apartment when he bought it. Moo-jin laughed, claiming it was a coincidence. However, Ae-yeon knew he was lying because he hummed before lying, a habit he hadn't lost. Caught, Moo-jin admitted he bought the apartment, knowing they lived there as they argued. Byeon shouted for him to let go as she angrily rushed towards her father. Tae-pyeong, who had been reaching upstairs, intervened and knocked Moo-jin down, attempting to protect Geum. Ae-yeon pushed, tying away anxiously. Checked on Moo-jin, realizing they were Byeon. M's parents embarrassed, Tae-pyeong felt awkward. Beyond Mi-rae, furious with her father for disrupting their lives again, pushed her father, who had just stood up, back to the ground. Meanwhile, an old man, having finished his drink, remembered seeing Moo-jin the day before the apartment fire, helping a drunk landlord walk, identifying him as the new landlord named Tae-pyeong, and Beyond Mi-rae work at the same supermarket where he is a security guard in the morning and a taekwondo instructor in the evening. Tae-pyeong, known for his good looks, always attracts a crowd of female fans during a busy day. Tae-pyeong notices Beyond M nearby and quickly approaches her to apologize for accidentally hurting her father. Instead, Beyond M pulls him aside and urges him not to mention her father to anyone, stating that Tae-pyeong doesn't need to apologize and that she actually appreciated his intervention. Unlike her resolute daughter Geum, Ae-yeon decides to face reality. She sends away prospective tenants and announces that she will not sell their apartment. She explains to her daughter that saving on rent could help alleviate Beyond M's financial burdens. Byeon M suggests applying for a loan to find a new apartment, but with existing debts, the bank would not approve additional loans, suspecting her mother wants to stay because of her father. Beyond Mi-rae accuses her of wanting to reunite with him, which offends Ae-yeon in a heated moment. Ae-yeon angrily asks her daughter to repeat what she said, prompting Beyond M to quickly change the subject. Beyond Mi-rae visits Beyond Moo-jin and confronts him about not paying any child support since the divorce, leaving only a wedding ring. She demands back payments, but Beyond Moo-jin refuses, stating his intentions to reunite with Geum. Ae-yeon, sensing his daughter's concerns about losing her mother, Beyond Moo-jin suggests a bet if he fails to reconcile with Geum. Ae-yeon, within 4 weeks, he will pay the overdue child support. Beyond Mi-rae proposes using the apartment to offset the child support, which Beyond Moo-jin agrees to and includes in a written agreement. They sign the agreement, stipulating that if the couple reunites, the children must join them. Beyond Moo-jin gets the agreement notarized early in the morning. Beyond Mi-rae takes the agreement and pays the rent to her father, making it clear she does not want his help. Byeon Moo-jin asks if she wants to add any other conditions, but Byeon Mar's request remains the same. As years ago, she wants her father to stay away from the family until his death. Byeon Mi, aware that her struggle against her father is ongoing, orders a large iced Americano to stay alert and energized for her bet with Byeon Moo-jin, aiming to keep him out of her and her mother's lives. Meanwhile, Byeon Moo-in plans how to win back his wife, unaware of the rumors about him spreading in the apartment building. An elderly neighbor recalls seeing Byeon Moo-in drinking with the former landlord the day before. A fire suspecting Byeon Moo-in of killing him to take over the apartment. Other residents also expressed their suspicions about Byeon Moo-in, noting his tattooed arms and his ability to perform 360-degree rotations on the high bar. Another neighbor remembered seeing Byeon Moo-jin coming out of the police station and then entering a tofu shop, clearly just released from custody. A third neighbor shared that he saw Byeon Moo-jin lighting a match and burning something on the rooftop, likely destroying evidence against himself, after explaining he produced a bag of used matches he found on the apartment lawn after a fire. Since other residents don't use matches, these were surely Byeon Moo-jin's. A female neighbor recalled the former landlord's words that as long as he lived, he would never sell the apartment. The more the neighbors talked, the more convinced they became that Byeon Moo-jin had killed the former landlord, and they grew wary of Geum, his ex-wife, unaware of the neighbor's suspicions. The younger brother felt lucky to have a wealthy father and volunteered to help him by delivering rice cakes to the neighbors who accepted the gifts, fearfully worried about their lives. Byeon Moo-jin personally delivered Gon's portion, remembering she liked this particular steamed cake. Approaching his ex-wife, Byeon Moo-jin tried to charm her, but Geum rebuffed him, remarking on his slick ways. Despite his age, she quickly walked home, unwilling to engage further. The only one willing to talk more with Byeon Moo-jin was his son, who held no grudges as he was too young to remember his father's departure. Byeon Moo-jin wondered why Ae-yeon and her daughter chose to stay in that neighborhood and not move elsewhere. The mother and daughter were determined to show their neighbors that through their own efforts they could live well. Hearing this, Byeon Moo-jin instructed his son to buy the most expensive fruit from the mall to distribute to all neighbors wanting to support his wife and daughter. On their way back, they encountered a man who was the landlord of the basement where Ae-yeon and her children had lived. The man who had harassed Ae-yeon for her beauty received a stern warning from Byeon Moo-in, who followed him into his shop and caught him harassing an employee. Byeon Moo-in scolded the man and ordered him not to appear in the neighborhood again. Returning home, Byeon Moo-in ran into a female neighbor from the third floor. They appeared to know each other well, and she promised not to let Geum know about their relationship. They would pretend not to know each other in public. Byeon Moo-jin asked about her health, which she didn't discuss much. Byeon Moo-jin had spent a lot on home appliances for his ex-wife, which he delivered to Ae-yeon's home. Byeon Mi-rae returned from work and was surprised to see them. Ae-yeon planned to return the gifts untouched, except for a table which she and Byeon Mi assembled together. After a busy day, the mother and daughter sat down for a drink. Finally relaxing, Byeon-hye mused that no matter how modest their life was, as long as the family was together, they could overcome anything that day at work. Byeon Mi-rae stumbled upon major news when the elevator door opened and she overheard Nam Tae-pyeong calling the president. Father, realizing their relationship had been exposed, the father and son quickly pulled Byeon Mi into the elevator. Nam Tae-pyeong asked her not to reveal his relationship with the company president to anyone. Beyond, M understood his situation and agreed to keep his secret. Now they were even each holding a secret of the other. The next day, the neighbors gathered together. The rice cakes and fruit sent by the son were untouched. They were too afraid to eat them. However, one neighbor did eat the food and was perfectly fine, which led everyone to continue gossiping. They heard that Byeon Moo-jin had fought someone the previous day and had seriously injured them. The neighbors speculated that he might have been violent towards Ae-yeon too, which could be why they divorced Byeon M on her way to work. Heard these rumors, she didn't want her father to disrupt their peaceful life at the supermarket. Another neighbor approached Geum's stall and loudly accused Byeon Moo-jin of arson. Geum was confused and didn't understand what she was talking about. Byeon Moo-in, who was also in the supermarket, heard this and pulled the neighbor aside to talk outside. Byeon arrived just in time to protect her mother, emphasizing that they were strangers to Byeon and that people should not bother her. Mother, she was fed up with the trouble Byeon always brought to them to prevent his wife and daughter from being harassed by rumors. Byeon asked a male neighbor to gather everyone together. He took out a match and explained that he carried matches because he was a fan of Hyeon Fat. Not because of arson. He had been with the previous landlord the day before the fire, but had not said it. He had merely persuaded him to sell the apartment. He also had an alibi from the police station. After explaining, he asked the neighbor to bring some alcohol. When the neighbors saw the alcohol and Moo-jin's serious expression, they were scared, thinking he might ask them to apologize on their knees. However, Moo-jin intended to invite everyone to drink with him. Furthermore, he sent a message to Mi-rae stating that he would never leave their lives after his explanation. Beyond Moo-jin's relationship with the neighbors eased, one female neighbor specifically came to Ae-yeon to apologize for causing a scene at the supermarket. She playfully poked Ae-yeon and pouted, to which Ae-yeon laughed and said she didn't take it seriously. Living there, Ae-yeon, who seemed easy to bully, was either a target for venting frustrations or the subject of gossip. She joked that if she took it to heart every time, she would die of stress. The female neighbors understood her indirect message, but couldn't do much about it. The landlord, intent on reconciling with Ae-yeon, meant no one dared to bother her. Ae-yeon, walking her dog, coincidentally met Moo-jin, going out curious about him. She disguised her voice and called Moo-jin's sister to ask if she knew he had bought an apartment. The sister, unaware of any such purchase, thought it was a scam, and angrily hung up Geum. Ae-yeon was curious about what Moo-jin had gone through to become the person he was today. Moo-jin remained silent, planning to find the right moment to explain. Now that Moo-jin's relationship with the neighbors had improved when they saw Byeon working hard in the street, they joked that she had a rich father and didn't need to work so hard. They suggested she should marry and have children. Soon, Byeon ignored the comments and continued walking, encountering two male neighbors who morally pressured her with obligations of filial piety, urging her to be dutiful and repay her parents' kindness. Mi-rae chose not to engage, further respectfully greeted them, and left feeling upset. She sought a place to vent and saw Tae-pyeong at the dojo with wooden boards, interested in breaking the boards. She followed Tae-pyeong's instructions and easily split them, improving her mood as they repeatedly broke boards together. While cleaning up, Tae-pyeong noticed sawdust in her hair and helped her remove it. Afterwards, they walked shoulder to shoulder and unexpectedly ran into a drunk Moo-jin. Byeon had cleared up misunderstandings with the neighbors and was drinking with his subordinates, discussing how the neighbors were now trying to please him. A female neighbor brought him kimchi, a male neighbor neatly folded his laundry, and an elderly neighbor gifted him homemade liquor. It seemed the neighbors no longer suspected Moo-jin. However, Moo-jin was unaware that one male neighbor in a secret room filled with information related to an arson case was holding a matchstick as evidence and planning to covertly investigate whether Moo-jin was the arsonist. Encountering her father unexpectedly, Byeon's emotions were stirred. She did not want to lose to Moo-jin and wanted him far from their family. Tae-pyeong advised her to ignore him and focus on her own life. Embracing this, Byeon began practicing ignoring Moo-jin. The next morning, Moo-jin gathered the neighbors and offered to waive 3 months of their property fees, which made the neighbors rejoice. However, Byeon was not swayed and stepped forward to pay her property fees, determined to settle every penny with Byeon. Her competition with her father officially began. Each time Moo-jin tried to invite Ae-yeon for a meal, buy her favorite roast chicken, or take her for a health check, Byeon preempted him, leaving him no opportunity, perhaps sensing each other's intentions when Moo-jin wanted to buy flowers for his ex-wife. Byeon again appeared in time. Roses before him, both holding bouquets. They raced to see who could deliver the flowers to Geum. First, Moo-jin, arriving a step later, dejectedly handed the flowers to Geum, hoping just to share a meal with her, seeing the discord between father and daughter. The younger brother could not stand it and expressed his support for their parents. reconciliation questioning why Byeon Mi-rae refused to accept their father's efforts. Byeon Mi-rae changed the subject, advising her soon-to-graduate brother to seek stable employment rather than pursue risky entrepreneurial ventures. Reminding him that their family lacked a business mindset startled her. Brother revealed he was actually considering starting a business after meeting a senior who had opened a cafe in his own building. Inspired, he saw a vision of his successful future, thinking his wealthy father might help him in his entrepreneurial endeavors elsewhere. Ae-yeon saw Byeon Moo-jin's subordinate in a dry cleaning shop and curiously followed him, overhearing his phone conversation about the hassle of constantly cleaning up messes for a good reward. Though the money came and went, quickly confused, Na-eun approached him to ask about his relationship with Byeon Moo-jin. The subordinate handed her a business card, revealing he was an accountant, handling Byeon Moo-jin's tax and other affairs, and they were high school classmates. Geum inquired about his phone conversation, but the subordinate was reluctant to elaborate. Deciding to confront Byeon Moo-jin directly, she left and after shopping tried calling him, but he didn't answer. Walking through a dark alley, she was suddenly attacked. Meanwhile, Byeon Moo-jin, busy buying gifts for his ex-wife, missed the call. He waited outside Ae-yeon's building, boasting to Byeon that Ae-yeon had called him 5 times. Returning the call, a neighbor answered. Sensing something was wrong, he started searching for Ae-yeon Byeon and he split up to look for her and soon received a call from the police station. The family rushed there and found Ae-yeon giving a statement. They thought she had an accident, but learned she was involved in an assault case previously. Ae-yeon had been followed by her former basement landlord, who, upset by Byeon Moo-jin's threats, confronted her. Ae-yeon screamed and defended herself vigorously. Hearing the commotion, 2 female neighbors arrived and chased the man when he tried to flee. Ae-yeon used a stick in her shoe as weapons, knocking the man down. The women caught him and took him to the police. Despite understanding the situation, Byeon Moo-jin's anger was uncontrollable and he assaulted the man. Later, Ae-yeon, hearing Byeon Moo-jin had been frantically distributing her photos, thinking she was missing, thought it was an overreaction. Her brother defended their father, saying he was desperate and crying while searching for her. Watching this, Byeon Mi felt moved after their parents divorced. The family lived in a basement and Geum worked in a restaurant. Introduced by the lecherous landlord, Byeon saw the landlord ordering her mother around and making inappropriate comments, believing he was their benefactor and that Geum would eventually comply. Furious, Byeon wanted to retaliate but held back, remembering their family's need for income over the years. She proved to outsiders that even without a father, their family could thrive. As Bae and Mi-rae walked aimlessly, Byeon Moo-jin followed, grateful for her taking care of Jimon, and their brother Hyeon apologized for the bird she shouldered at a young age. Hearing this, Byeon sat down and wept, telling herself never to become like her father. Soon rain began to fall, and Nam Tae-pyeong arrived with an umbrella, squatting in front of Byeon to shield her crying face from the neighbors and prevent any gossip. That rainy night, a female neighbor on the 3rd floor drank alone, looking at a photo of herself with Byeon Moo-jin, deliberately dressed to impress, wearing a leather outfit, sitting on a motorcycle, waiting for his ex-wife Ae-yeon by the roadside. Despite his age, Byeon Moo-jin still acts mischievously, far from mature or composed. He wanted to dine with Ae-yeon, who also had something to say. They went to a restaurant where she advised him not to spend recklessly in case he went bankrupt again. Byeon Moo-jin asked for reconciliation so Ae-yeon could manage him. She denied his request, hoping he would let go of the past and start anew with another woman. Byeon Moo-jin insisted, claiming he was no longer the fool who troubled his family but had become a mature man. Ae-yeon disagreed, saying he was just wealthier but otherwise unchanged. She wished Byeon Moo-jin would stop bothering her and her daughters, stressing that a parent shouldn't trouble their children and that he no longer had a place in their home. Byeon Moo-jin thought Ae-yeon was cruel, arguing that if she intended to hurt him, she shouldn't look beautiful and go out with him. Angry, Byeon Moo-jin left drunk, returning to his apartment just in time to see Byeon. Mere installing a camera, Byeon nearly fell. but Byeon Moo-jin quickly supported her, preventing a fall after setting up the camera. Mi-rae cleaned up the borrowed ladder, which Byeon Moo-jin took over, helping her return it to the rooftop, caught up in conversation with his daughter. He missed a call from his subordinate, who was anxiously tapping his fingers on the desk. Worried Ae-yeon might accidentally reveal their plans, comforting himself. The subordinate held Byeon Moo-jin's bank book and Seal keeping control over him after clarifying things with Byeon Moo and Geum. Ae-yeon focused on her children early one weekend. She woke her daughter for a picnic in the park, with their dog chatting on the ground. Beyond M wondered if her mother had decided to divorce, only because of her insistence, though. Geum-yeon had considered it long before keeping silent for the sake of her children, until she heard Byeon M's words and decided to ask for a divorce, believing Byeon Moo would never change otherwise, and they couldn't lead a normal life lying down. Geum-yeon recalled her busy past raising children, which left no room for loneliness. But now, with time on her hands, she felt accustomed to solitude. With age, she hoped Byeon Moo-jin would find a good woman to marry. Sensing his struggle with loneliness, listening to Geum-yeon calmly, Byeon Mi-rae felt her mother had moved on from Byeon Moo-jin, though she couldn't. Every sight of him angered her after their mother-daughter outing. Byeon M was called back to work by her company and Geum. Ae-yeon walked home alone, pausing at a shop window, displaying wedding dresses, reminiscing about her photo shoot, with Byeon Moo pregnant before marriage. She had posed in her wedding dress without a ceremony, hoping to hear her husband's good wishes for their marriage, which Byeon Moo couldn't express, posing with a smile that looked like a cry. The couple laughed, capturing a happy wedding photo. Memories end. The female neighbor approaches. Though it's the weekend, her children are busy, leaving Ae-yeon alone. And bored, she invites the female neighbor for a drink. The neighbor, having another idea in mind, takes Geum-yeon for a manicure. Instead, another neighbor mentions Byeon Moo-jin in front of her, prompting Geum-yeon to change her expression immediately. Sensing the mood, the neighbor stopped discussing further, curiously. One neighbor outright asks if Geum-yeon would reconcile with Byeon Moo-jin. Geum-yeon reaffirms she has no desire for reconciliation, and the two have made it clear, if possible, she would even introduce a girlfriend to Byeon Moo-jin. The manicure and hair salon share the same shop, the neighbor from the third floor. Also, the hair salon owner overhears Jim-yeon's words, feeling conflicted, and drinks heavily. She calls Jim-yeon, who comes downstairs to help her, escorting the drunk neighbor home. The neighbor, in her drunken state, expresses her envy of Geum-yeon's life. She falls asleep mid-sentence. Geum-yeon tidies up her messy room, picking up a photo of her. And Byeon Moo from the floor, surprised to discover they know each other. The photo was taken in Thailand, when Byeon Moo-jin had fled to the country after causing trouble in South Korea. He met the neighbor there, and they soon parted ways with Byeon Moo-jin. Leaving all his assets to her, the neighbor had once been pregnant but miscarried accidentally. Seeing the photo unsettles Geum, often leaving her lost in thought. She recalls moving into the apartment at the same time as the third-floor neighbor, who was visibly pregnant and alone one night, seeing the neighbor drunk and collapsed. Ji-yeon and her daughter helped her home. When the neighbor sobered up, Ji-yeon brought her seaweed soup, comforting her. That losing the child wasn't her fault, just not meant to be. Yet the neighbor cried in Geum-yeon's arms, and from then on, their relationship improved. Thinking this over, Geum-yeon goes to the hair salon photo hidden behind her back, wanting to clarify her relationship with Byeon Moo. Geum talks a lot without coming to the point, eventually giving up and heading to a baseball field to vent. Her thoughts are chaotic, as if two figures are debating in her mind. One emotional, the other rational. Comforting her, remembering Byeon Moo-jin's words that she was the only woman in his life. Geum-yeon feels nauseated. Meanwhile, Beyond M notices her mother's unusual behavior, cooking a meal entirely of eggs. Jim-yeon sits alone in the dark living room, at night facing a fan, with a Thay travel package advertisement playing on TV. Byeon Mi-rae calls the third-floor neighbor, inquiring if her mother has been acting strangely. The neighbor suggests it might be menopause, but Byeon Mi-rae calculates her mother isn't of age. Yet Byeon M, having an urgent matter, hangs up and joins Nampong to handle a work issue. After work, they head to a nearby beach, where the strong Siap breeze prompts Tae-pyeong to thoughtfully cover Byeon M with a jacket, while the two were enjoying the view. Byeon Moo-jin was kneeling on the ground nearby, heartbroken over Gwon distancing herself from him, feeling abandoned. He went to the seaside alone to drink. He invited the store owner to join him for a drink and overheard the owner's conversation with his daughter, who was playfully asking for pocket money. Byeon Moo-in envied this, a moment of happiness he had never experienced. Stimulated by this, he came to the seaside and yelled out loud. During this father-daughter encounter, Byeon Moo-jin simply advised Mi-rae to be careful on her way back to Seoul. Back at home, Mi-rae noticed the door camera had been replaced with a new model. Clearly beyond Moo-jin's doing after resolving work issues and dealing with her unruly brother who had skipped school and wasted 2 semesters' tuition on a business venture, believing their wealthy father would bail him out. Byeon Mi-rae arranged to meet Byeon Moo-jin at a shop. Byeon Moo-jin decided to leave, presenting a condo transfer application. This was what Byeon Mi-rae had hoped for, but she was not happy. As imagined, instead feeling very angry whether Byeon Moo-in appeared or left it. Angered her. She angrily declared she would send her brother to live with Byeon Moo-in for discipline after leaving the shop and seeing her mother approaching Byeon M, locked the shop door and hid with Byeon Moo-jin after Ae-yeon left. Byeon Moo-jin departed but was caught by Ae-yeon. They talked aside. She inquired about his activities in Thailand and accused him of impregnating and abandoning a neighbor. Realizing Ae-yeon was jealous, Byeon Moo-in teased her. Annoyed Ae-yeon cracked an egg on his head. Byeon Moo-jin, recognizing his ex-wife's jealousy, refused to reveal the truth. Jin-hee, frustrated, tried to distract herself with housework, but her thoughts returned to the issue after settling down after cleaning her apartment. She swept the common area downstairs, where Byeon Moo-in snatched the broom from her, pointing to a car that often blocked others by parking improperly. Causing Byeon M to be late for work, she noted its owner was a muscular man who resolved issues by fighting. As this man raged downstairs, Byeon Moo-in and his son appeared, the latter having been instructed to sticker the car. The man, underestimating Byeon Moo-in, was swiftly subdued upstairs. Ae-yeon and the neighbor from the 3rd floor rushed down upon hearing the commotion. The neighbor had earlier approached Ae-yeon, guessing the photo was hers. Before she could explain that Byeon Moo-jin wasn't the father of her child, they were interrupted by the noise downstairs. The muscular man, intimidated, fled with his clothes, shocked by her formidable ex-husband Geum. Ae-yeon returned home with him to continue their conversation, during which the neighbor mentioned knowing Byeon Moo-jin in Korea. He was unsuccessful in business in Korea and believed the country was not suitable for him. So he moved to Thailand. Later, his female neighbor got pregnant and her boyfriend was irresponsible. She wanted to return to Korea, but couldn't afford a plane ticket in order to raise money. She reluctantly auditioned for a strip-to performance. When Byeon Moo-in learned about this, he rushed to stop her. The female neighbor lamented her encounter with a bad man, feeling she had no choice but to earn money. This way, Byeon Moo-jin sympathized with her plight and gave her all his savings, allowing her to return to Korea and live. Well, the female neighbor's situation reminded him of Ae-yeon, who also hadn't met the right person and had struggled raising her child. Alone, the female neighbor kept a photo with Byeon Moo-jin. For a reason, she was already pregnant when the photo was taken, and it was the only picture with her unborn child. When asked about Byeon Moo-jin's occupation abroad, the female neighbor was reluctant to speak. Geum was very curious, left with no choice. The neighbor showed a photo she took of Byeon Moo-in selling goods. At that time, he was hired by a shoe store that liked his attractive ankles, making him a shoe model. He was asked to walk a few steps in high heels in a busy market Geum. Ae-yeon pressed for what happened next, but the female neighbor also didn't know why Byeon Moo-in suddenly became wealthy. Both women were curious about how Byeon Moo-jin made so much money. Byeon Moo-in, the person in question, returned home and began living with his son. His son was very happy, enjoying the freedom of walking around in underwear with only men at home when his son needed to go out and borrowed Byeon Moo-jin's clothes. He discovered a suitcase. Byeon Moo-jin's expression changed, and he personally came to help his son pick clothes. Then closed the wardrobe door. His men were waiting for him downstairs. While waiting, he wanted to smoke, but forgot his lighter. The female neighbor came out noticing he was looking for a lighter and rummaged through her pockets. Unexpectedly, she took out a candy instead, having quit smoking years ago after the female neighbor left Byeon. Moo-jin came down his men, sitting beside him, feeling uneasy, fearing Ae-yeon might have said something. Byeon smiled meaningfully, realizing Geum was jealous. He saw hope and frequently appeared before Ae-yeon buying her favorite snacks, medicine, and blankets. While walking home, Moo-jin occasionally teased Geum, asking if she would remarry him. Suddenly, Gwan's foot hurt. She suffered from plantar fasciitis, which caused sudden pain. Moo-jin had her sit down and massaged her foot, advising her to buy good shoes. They were not remarried yet, so he felt it was not auspicious to give her shoes directly. Ae-yeon was very happy. Moo-jin hadn't seen her smile in a long time at night, sitting on the bed. Ae-yeon ate the snacks. Moo-jin bought feeling complicated to clear her mind. She started washing her daughter's quilt. Mi took the opportunity to tell her mother that she had arranged a trip to Thailand for the weekend, feeling her mother liked it there and had planned the itinerary secretly. However, as competitors were launching a new product earlier, the supermarket couldn't fall behind and moved up the new product launch to this week. Mi was told to cancel her leave request for Friday. She did not want to cancel the trip and decided to launch the new product a day earlier on Thursday, after finishing the work she left with her mother for the trip to ensure a smooth journey. Mi-rae, tired, fell asleep in the car. Tae-pyeong found her and, concerned about her driving, while fatigued, drove her home himself. Byeon wondered why. Tae-pyeong always found her at her most vulnerable moments, feeling embarrassed. Tae-pyeong was glad it was he who found her like this, not someone else he admired beyond Mi-rae for her seriousness towards work, noting she had always been this way. Not liking to delay things, since many issues must eventually be faced, this realization struck Tae-pyeong. Some things cannot be avoided and must be confronted. Eventually thinking this, Tae-pyeong wore a black suit to his grandfather's memorial service. The president asked him to pay respects, but kneeling there, Tae-pyeong put down his drink, refusing to continue the pretense with the president, and left the hall. It turns out the president and Tae-pyeong are not father and son, but half-brothers. Meanwhile, Young-yoon went out and met her son coming downstairs. She learned he wanted to live with Byeon and had decided to drop out of school. Shocked, she was even more surprised to find out Byeon knew about this and had encouraged her brother to move in with their father. Feeling deceived, she went to play tennis. Byeon, hearing about this from his son, went to the tennis court to find her. They ended up at a more than her son's issues. Jameon wanted to know how her ex-husband had made so much money. Moo-jin assured her he was a law-abiding citizen, but refused to say more. The conversation turned back to their children. Ae-yeon felt guilty for making Mi-rae take on family responsibilities too early, contrasting with her son, who though an adult still acted childishly. This made Ae-yeon feel even more remorseful towards Byeon, overwhelmed. She broke down crying, wishing her children could have responsible parents in their next lives and not suffer as they had after drinking gum. Ae-yeon left for home, but ended up crying. Halfway there, not wanting to face Mi-rae. That night, Byeon took her to a hotel where they unexpectedly met Byeon supporting a drunken Tae-pyeong. There had been a company dinner, and Tae-pyeong, feeling down, drank alone and collapsed outside the restaurant, found by Mi-rae, who had to help him to the hotel. Seeing Ae-yeon and Moo-jin, Tae-pyeong sobered up instantly. Ae-yeon, furious, confronted Tae-pyeong, but Moo-jin intervened over Geum wanted to scold her daughter, but Moo stopped her after this incident. Suspected her parents had reconciled and angrily packed her bags to leave home. She texted Geum that she had to choose between her father and herself upon leaving Byeon. Ran into Tae-pyeong, seeing her staring blankly with her suitcase. He guessed she was running away and kindly offered to help with the luggage during the struggle. Byeon accidentally fell and got very angry. Tae-pyeong invited her to his place, looking at her dirty clothes. She followed him home while she changed Tae-pyeong, and two friends prepared a barbecue feast when Byeon emerged in a long dress. Nam-pong was stunned. He quickly grabbed a coat and draped it over her hungry Byeon. Mi-rae devoured the barbecue gum. Ae-yeon, having not heard from Byeon-mi, was very anxious. A neighbor from the third floor visited, advising her to decide whether to see Byeon Moo-jin as a boyfriend, husband, or stranger, and to consider her daughter's feelings. Geum Ae-yeon sighed, deciding against reconciling with Byeon Moo-jin. For her daughter's sake, she realized she had caused Byeon-m's resentment by constantly speaking ill of Byeon Moo-jin and using her daughter as an emotional dumping ground. Ae-yeon texted Byeon Mi-rae, wanting to meet and talk. Meanwhile, Tae-pyeong noticed Byeon Mi-rae was upset and asked why she ran away. Byeon Mi-rae vented her anger about her mother betraying her. Unable to accept her mother reconciling with her despised father, Tae-pyeong didn't try to dissuade her. Instead, he revealed that he and the company president weren't father and son, but brothers raised as such to avoid inheritance disputes. Byeon Mi-rae was moved by his story and comforted him gently. Tae-pyeong comforted her in return and confessed his feelings. Byeon Mi-rae, very shy, quickly grabbed her suitcase and hurriedly left his house on the other side. Byeon Moo-jin's subordinate received a text about alimony from his ex-wife and attempted to take out a loan using Byeon Moo-jin's bank account. Just as he was about to proceed, a transfer notification from Byeon Moo-in arrived, frightening him, as he guessed Byeon Moo-jin knew about his embezzlement at a teacher's funeral. The subordinate mocked Byeon Moo-in in front of old classmates, calling him foolish and lucky. Byeon Moo-in, also attending the funeral, overheard and was insulted. The embarrassed subordinate tried to resign, but Byeon Moo-jin refused, asking him to continue as his tax accountant and forgave his past misdeeds. Byeon Moo-in left unaware that Geum Ae-yeon was also there. Outside, he met former baseball teammates. Their coach's funeral was also. That day, a teammate, now successful, thanked Byeon Moo-jin for retiring, due to an injury which allowed him to succeed. Byeon Moo-jin remained silent. Ending his career was a lifelong regret when teammates heard his name. They gathered around Byeon Moo-in, disliked being the center of attention, and looked uncomfortable. Seeing her ex-husband's discomfort, Jin-hee approached as his wife. She warmly greeted the teammates, remembering one as Byeon Moo-jin's former follower. Embarrassing him, Geum continued, mentioning the tax accountant had just informed her they needed to pay tens of millions of WW in taxes. She suggested selling all their properties. Ae-yeon's boasting made the teammates' wives envious. She took Byeon Moo-in away, disliking how a teammate insulted him more than others, mocking him. Byeon Moo-jin cared why Geum Ae-yeon helped him, pretending everything was fine between them. Despite their separation, Geum Ae-yeon knew Byeon-jin was sensitive about quitting baseball and reminded him that he wasn't the only one forced to give up something significant. Geum Ae-yeon took a taxi home and met Byeon Mi-rae returning. She explained her guilt towards Byeon Mi-rae made her stay at a hotel instead of coming home. After reconciling, Byeon Mi-rae noticed 2 cups on the table and suspected her mother spent time alone with Byeon Moo-jin while she was away. Byeon Mi-rae acted nonchalant, stating she wouldn't interfere with their relationship anymore and wouldn't report her whereabouts to her mother, regardless of Ji-yeon's questions. Byeon kept the reason for being at the hotel with Nam-pyeong, a secret Gyeon, tried to mend their relationship, cooking meals and cleaning Byeon's room when Byeon ignored her. Ae-yeon gave up. Disturbed, Byeon Mi-rae decided to go out for fresh air, running into Byeon Moo-jin downstairs. Seeing his daughter safe, he wanted to talk. Byeon compared him to unsellable long shelf life supermarket products, neither good to throw away nor wanted by anyone. A nightmare for her as a food salesperson. Byeon Moo-jin kept apologizing as Byeon quickly walked away. Byeon had arranged to meet Nam-pyeong, who planned to teach her to ride a bicycle dressed in gear. Nam-pyeong supported her like a caring father, helping her balance Byeon Moo-jin. Walking in a nearby park, watched Byeon Mi-rae learn to ride. Reminded of a past event, young Byeon had asked her father to teach her to ride, but he rushed to meet teammates, promising to return. Turned soon. The 2 men ended up at a pub, watching a former teammate's game on TV after Byeon Mi-rae was born. She was often sick and needed hospital care to make money. Byeon Moo-in took on physical work during his free time, accidentally injuring his shoulder and leaving the baseball team. His departure gave his second-ranked teammate a chance to become famous. The teammate believed Byeon ruined Byeon Moo-jin's career. Byeon Moo-jin drank, glancing at a children's bike wheel visible by the wall, unaware that Byeon Mi-rae hiding there heard everything, and later threw the bike on the ground. Years later, Byeon Moo-jin suddenly realized that his daughter had overheard a conversation while Byeon Moo-jin was lost in thought. Byeon Mi-rae noticed a boy riding a scooter and using his phone heading straight towards Byeon Moo-jin. Seeing the danger, Byeon pedaled hard towards her father, shouting for him to move. The boy heard her and swerved in time. But Byeon Mi-rae fell. Byeon Moo-jin rushed his daughter to the hospital, where in his anxiety he scolded her, wishing he had been the one hit instead of seeing her hurt. Soon, it was Byeon M's turn for treatment after her wounds were treated. Tae-pyeong insisted she sit in a wheelchair, which he pushed himself. Byeon Mi-rae looked around for her father and sighed in disappointment upon hearing that Byeon Moo-in had left after paying the medical bills. However, Byeon Moo-jin hadn't actually left. He took over pushing the wheelchair and told his daughter that as a baseball player, his family was his home base, and he couldn't leave. He apologized for not keeping his promise to teach her to ride a bike and never viewed B and Mi-rae as a stumbling block in his career. He regretted his uselessness. Not his children, who were his greatest treasures, moved by her father's words. Byeon Mi-rae was touched at the same time. Ae-yeon was tidying her daughter's room and found a bet contract about reconciling with her that only the father and daughter knew about when Byeon Moo-in brought his injured daughter home. Geum, Ae-yeon confronted them with the contract, realizing what was happening. Father and daughter quickly knelt with Byeon Moo-in remaining silent. Ae-yeon had no expectations for him, so she wasn't angry, but she was very disappointed in her daughter and ordered Byeon Mi-rae to pack her bags and leave. Ae-yeon was heartbroken, feeling that as a parent she should be protecting her children. Not the other way around. She didn't want Byeon Mi-rae to always feel pressured to take on the whole family. Byeon angrily lashed out at her mother and immediately regretted her words. She quickly shifted the topic to distract her mother with her injured arm. The next day, Byeon observed her mother's mood and playfully asked her to accompany her to the hospital. Ae-yeon was cold, causing Byeon to regret her words even more and worry about how to reconcile by accident. She got off at the wrong bus stop and ran into Tae-pyeong. They had dinner together, during which Tae-pyeong attentively took care of her, helping her with water and utensils, and even offered to feed her, as the amused restaurant owner watched Byeon Mi-rae shyly look down as she ate. Encouraged by the restaurant owner's words, Tae-pyeong took the opportunity to ask her out on a date. After some thought, Byeon replied that she was currently having a disagreement with her mother. She would consider dating only after reconciling with her. Byeon was preoccupied with making up with her mother, and Ae-yeon felt the same. Ae-yeon wasn't angry with her daughter, but was reflecting on herself, wondering if her daughter's harsh words were truly how she felt. She discussed this with Byeon Moo-jin, who also noticed their daughter seemed tired from viewing family responsibilities as her duty. Neglecting her own hardships, Geum blamed herself for not protecting her children better. Byeon Moo-jin consoled his ex-wife, reflecting on his past belief that he had given up his passion for baseball for his family. He realized that Ae-yeon had also sacrificed her life, having children at 20 and dedicating herself to raising them. He urged her not to blame herself, stating that the fault lay with him, who should have been the family's main support. The next day, Ae-yeon sought advice from a neighbor whose children were grown and married. The neighbor shared how relationships change as children grow and how parents should give them freedom at the right time. The neighbors knew Ae-yeon's struggles and felt she deserved her own life. Ae-yeon returned to playing baseball, recalling a promise Byeon made in high school to grow up fast, get a decent job after graduation, and provide a happy life for her mother. Byeon joined a large company to prevent her mother from having to work hard. Thinking of this made Ae-yeon even more agitated, so she headed home, where she found Byeon Mi-rae had redecorated and was kneeling, apologizing for her earlier harsh words and begging for forgiveness. Byeon Mi-rae did not want to move out, saying she couldn't live without her mother nearby. Ae-yeon forgave her, and they reconciled the next day. Ae-yeon personally took her daughter to work. Helping her with her bag at the supermarket, Tae-pyeong showed great concern for Byeon, who was about to have her cast removed. Tae-pyeong felt a bit sad as he had hoped to spend more time with her due to her injury. Suddenly, a customer with a shopping cart passed by, and Tae-pyeong quickly pulled Byeon aside to protect her injured arm. Byeon was called to the president's office, fearing that he might warn her against hoping for a wealthy life by marrying Tae-pyeong, and even imagined him offering her cash to leave Tae-pyeong back to reality. She considered whether she should accept money if offered in the office. The president asked her to persuade Tae-pyeong to work at the company, citing their close relationship. Byeon declined the president's request after work. Tae-pyeong had dinner with the president today. Was Tae-pyeong's birthday, and the president casually brought up Byeon on Mi-rae. Tae-pyeong became alert and set down his chopsticks. The president confessed that he hadn't done anything to Byeon, but had asked her for a favor, which she coldly refused. Byeon had her reasons, stating that based on her understanding of Tae-pyeong, he wasn't someone easily persuaded by others. She believed Tae-pyeong should decide for himself whether to return to the company or continue as a security guard. Regardless of his choice, she would support him unconditionally. Hearing this from the president, Tae-pyeong smiled, unable to suppress his urge to go to where Mi-rae was. Mi-rae turned around holding a birthday cake. While alone together, Tae-pyeong confessed his feelings to Byeon publicly as the president's son. Tae-pyeong had to maintain a professional distance from Byeon, an employee. However, she couldn't ignore her feelings and genuinely liked Tae-pyeong, receiving the answer he wanted. Tae-pyeong kissed Byeon. Meanwhile, Ae-yeon went to the rooftop to hang blankets and found Moo-jin. Resting there, he often came to look after the plants and rest. Seeing him asleep, Ae-yeon sat beside her ex-husband, still finding him handsome before leaving. She shielded him from the bright sun with an umbrella back home. Geum prepared some dishes for her son to take and share with Moo-jin. Her son revealed that he had seen Moo-jin's secret travel bag containing my mysterious items. He led his mother to Moo-jin's house, and they retrieved the travel bag from the wardrobe. Inside the bag were baseball gloves with their children's names and an album filled with family memories expressing Moo-jin's love. Deeply moved, Geum finished looking through the album. Today, Moo-jin was invited to a baseball game, and Ae-yeon joined him. She asked to borrow money from her ex-husband. Mi-rae had been shouldering the family's responsibilities, and their mother-daughter relationship had become overly dependent, which Ae-yeon considered unhealthy. She wanted Byeon to live independently, seeking financial help from Moo-jin for this purpose. Moo-jin comforted her, suggesting there was plenty of time to figure things out and offering to help think it through. Touched Geum and invited Moo-jin to join her for the next chapter of her life, and he embraced her warmly at the same moment. Byeon also accepted Pong's confession. Byeon heads to work as usual, hand in hand with Tae-pyeong. Despite seeing each other daily, every encounter leaves. Ray thrilled eagerly. Anticipating each day after work, they enjoy their time together, walking hand in hand, ending their joyful day. Excited May returns home, tries to unlock her door with a code, but it shows an error. She calls her mother, Ae-yeon, who sends an address and asks Bon to go there, arriving at a new house. Ae-yeon announces that from today, this will be Byeon's home. Yeon has paid the first month's rent with future payments to be made by Byeon, thinking her mother is still angry over a previous disagreement. Ray is informed that Ae-yeon wants her to live free from the burdens of being the family's head and to start a new life. This decision is also a challenge for Ai, who wants to live alone for a while, striving to live for herself. After explaining, and leaves and sobs in a deserted alley. Moo-jin approaches his ex-wife, lifts her up. Believing that the clever Byeon can bravely manage her life, holding back tears. Ju-yeon comforts herself, realizing that only by pushing Byeon away could her daughter decide to move out. Moo-jin comforts Ju-yeon, holding her close and commending her efforts. The company president visits Nam Pong's house where Nam Tae-pyeong's security contract is soon expiring. The president, noting Nam Pong's lack of progress since quitting Taekwondo, feels he is lost about his future. The president pressures him, aiming to help him out of his rut by offering a 3-month internship. If Nam Tae-pyeong dislikes it, the president promises not to interfere further, but threatens to make Byeon his direct subordinate. If he refuses the next day, Byeon wakes up at home, receives a message from Nam Tong, and heads to his Taekwondo gym to vent her frustrations. Breaking all the wooden boards, Nam Tae-pyeong forces her to rest and listen to her troubles. He feels her moving out is not a problem, and that it's for her good. Angry Byeon crumples a plastic bottle, deciding to live well, as revenge to prove to her mother she can manage alone. Nam Tae-pyeong then takes her shopping for daily necessities, unfamiliar with household tasks. Due to her busy work life, Nam Tong personally selects everything after shopping. He drops her off and gives her men's shoes. He polished earlier, advising her to place them in the hallway, to suggest a male presence for safety. He also takes out another pair of slippers. He prepared for himself back home. Byeon follows his instructions to arrange the shoes. While tidying up, she accidentally drops a note on the floor. Checking her phone, she feels disappointed as her mother hasn't contacted her. Mi-rae sits alone in the living room. Moo-jin, anticipating her loneliness, brings greens to make lunch for Geum. Ae-yeon, 2 people enjoyed a meal of beep together, uplifted by Moo. Jin's company, Geum finally felt happy as they shared the meal joyfully. After eating, Moo asked Geum about her plans. She wished to do nothing, tired of rushing to do laundry, cook, or clean. She wanted to lie on the floor and clear her mind for Moo. His greatest desire was to stay by Ae-yeon's side, do everything for her, travel together, and be a good father to their children. Ae-yeon, looking at her ex-husband next to her, felt mixed emotions. Mi-rae sneaked home and saw her mother throwing out the garbage. Byeon Moo-jin volunteered to help with sorting. He held Ae-yeon's dog, which noticed Byeon's stern look from afar and made a pleading gesture, hoping for forgiveness for its perceived betrayal. The dog barked as Byeon walked away, angry, drawing Byeon Moo-jin's attention to his daughter's retreating figure. Byeon Moo-jin followed her to a beer hall, where Byeon sought confirmation that he could make their mother happy. Byeon Moo-in expressed that Ae-yeon didn't need anyone else to make her happy. She needed to find her own happiness. He could only offer his support, reassuring Mi-rae that the family wouldn't fall apart because she moved out. Confused and frustrated, Byeon drank her beer, got up, and left. Meanwhile, Ae-yeon was still worried about her daughter. She approached Nam Tae-pyeong to ask for his help in looking after her. He promised not to let Ae-yeon worry and took Mi-rae to an ice skating rink to cheer her up. They had a great time and temporarily forgot their troubles. Hungry, they went to a restaurant, but awkwardly ended up joining a group of colleagues at the dinner table. The manager learned Nam Tae-pyeong was a security guard at the company and mocked his lack of ambition. Byeon Ray, upset, quickly interrupted him to spare her boyfriend embarrassment. After dinner, Byeon walked back to the company and was stopped by a mysterious woman who sarcastically commented on having a wealthy father before walking away. After Byeon left home, Geum, feeling bored, approached her boss to ask for more work to pass the time. A woman who overheard the conversation offered Geum a job as a TV shopping model, thinking she would be photogenic. Intrigued by the high pay, Geum was still reminiscing about the woman's words when Byeon appeared, coldly inquiring about her mother's work. Hyeon tried to explain the reason for asking her to move out, but Mi-rae turned and left, only brightening when she saw Nam Tae-pyeong, who gifted her a bicycle for easier commuting. Returning home to a messy room, Byeon felt desperate without her mother's help. She cleaned her room herself, finally realizing how hard her mother had worked to keep the home perfect, while she had taken her mother's care for granted. After cleaning up Byeon ate a cold meal and missed her mother. She happened upon a letter from Ae-yeon tucked in a corner of the wall. Ae-yeon, worried about her daughter managing on her own, and detailed all the precautions for living alone in the letter, comforting her daughter that she would always be her strong support. She wrote that if Byeon ever felt tired or wanted to cry, she could always come home overwhelmed. Byeon burst into tears and hurried home, where she found Ae-yeon secretly crying. In her room, the mother and daughter resolved their misunderstandings and grievances. Mi-rae hugged her mother, realizing after living alone that the hardest part all these years was not her own challenges, but Young-yoon managing both her and her brother. B&M promised to work harder to fulfill her own dreams, carrying her mother's expectations. Meanwhile, Moo-jin received a sudden call. The caller claimed that a woman knew what Moo-jin had done and advised him to handle the situation himself to avoid implicating others the next day. M returned to work in a good mood, only to learn unexpectedly that the company's president planned to hand his son over to her supervision, and this employee was none other than Tae-pyeong. Tae-pyeong, surprised by the president's decision, tried to explain to M, who was not upset, but instead happily shook hands with Tae-pyeong, hoping they could progress together as Tae-pyeong entered the workplace. Ae-yeon also embraced a new job, Byeon Moo-jin, learning that Ae-yeon was to be a TV shopping model, extravagantly rented a luxury nanny van, and held an umbrella for her, declaring himself Ae-yeon's manager as he escorted her to the shooting location, while Ae-yeon was getting makeup done backstage. Byeon Mi-rae, who worked at the same company, came looking for the person in charge of TV shopping and was surprised to see her mother. Byeon Moo-jin then burst in claiming to be Ae-yeon's manager. Byeon learned then that her mother was working as a part-time model. Watching Ae-yeon on stage, who was very nervous, Byeon Moo-jin stepped forward to comfort her warmly, boldly stating he would buy all the products if they didn't sell gum. Ae-yeon relaxed, and soon the live TV shopping began. Under the host's guidance, Ae-yeon demonstrated the effects of an air cushion compact, looking at her younger appearance in the mirror. Ae-yeon couldn't help but share her thoughts that middle-aged people prefer to do makeup in the dark, fearing to see themselves age, only realizing when looking in the mirror that they are still beautiful. Her words resonated with the audience, and the product quickly sold out. Watching her mother on stage, Byeon was very happy, realizing how exceptional Ae-yeon was, even when not being a mother. Even Byeon Moo-jin became jealous, fearing many men would pursue Ae-yeon after seeing the TV advertisement that evening. Byeon's team celebrated Tae-pyeong's joining with a dinner at a pub. The team leader humbly apologized to Tae-pyeong and even awkwardly sang a song. After the dinner ended, a tired Tae-pyeong collapsed into Byeon's arms, and they walked home hand in, and feeling happy upon reaching the door, they saw Moo-jin, who had come to check if the apartment his daughter lived in was safe after saying goodbye to Tae-pyeong. Mi-rae brought her father into the apartment.